Okay, so part 2 of the level 60 oil rig guide. So this time doing the full oil rig with the hard settings, which is doing half damage and taking 4 times damage. And then there are some other settings that affect like drops and stuff, but that shouldn't affect the oil rig. So it's just those damage settings really that you need to worry about. I am using the white gear still. So it is the white plasma cannon, white rocket launcher, um, white armors, and then I do have a green multi-guided, since I just assume you will have done the level 55 already a little bit, and I don't really think there's many options for doing the hard mode oil rig with the regular weapons. Like you probably need the multi-guided. I guess you could have used the regular guided, but then it would be the same thing because you're only using it for the chopper. Um, with the guided, but it would just take like 4 times longer, I guess, or a little bit less, but still. So you want to do the regular oil rig until you at least have like a white or green multi-guided. Any form of multi-guided will be fine. You will replace it pretty soon, hopefully, on the level 60 oil rig. It's just those first few runs will probably take like 15 minutes. So this run itself, I will be speeding up the chopper fight, but I think the total run time was about 15 minutes in this white gear. I don't think it will be a lot faster with better gear. Maybe you will have a little bit more armor, need to take a little bit less breaks and deal a little bit more damage. So you could probably get it down to a little bit faster than those 15 minutes. But it is gonna be quite a lot of farming oil rig on hard mode. It's gonna take a little bit, or hard settings. I'm gonna keep confusing hard mode and hard settings. There's no hard mode oil rig. It's only the hard settings, which is this damage factor. So how it affects the run itself is that parkouring around, which I do on the regular difficulty, is a lot harder. You can't like fly through 20 enemies and expect to survive. You'll have to be a little bit more careful. And then we got these, like the crusher guys deal a lot more damage, and then you deal the less damage yourself, which means less life steal. And dealing less damage, like I spoke about it in part 1, but if you didn't watch part 1, when you trigger like enemies on the oil rig, you get a couple of them running after you all the time. As on regular mode, you can probably kill, depending on how high DPS you have, how high attack, kill the chopper before you need to worry about that wave reaching you, or you can just deal with the wave in a rocket or two. When you have like low tier weapons or playing on hard difficulty, it's a lot more likely that that wave will overwhelm you together with the chopper. Like if, depending on where you're fighting the chopper, if you're hiding somewhere. As you can see this wave arriving now. On a regular difficulty, I would have probably started the hack already before taking it on. But here I kind of ignore that. So this is my method for this hard mode or hard setting oil rig. That when I trigger the chopper, I go straight to the tower in the corner over here. So I'm just flying under the oil rig because those homing missiles can still be a lot of trouble. So as long as you have shields, you should be good to summon the chopper. If you don't have any shields, just wait those like 30-40 seconds until they are maxed. Because you need the shields to be able to tank like a missile or two. Just something to keep in mind, that if you have no shields to summon the chopper, if you get those homing missiles after you, you probably die. So this is just something for this hard mode difficult setting. On regular difficulty, I just summon the chopper and I shoot with a plasma cannon, and you will out heal the chopper damage with the plasma cannon. That doesn't work with the Feybreak build. So I didn't really mention the party pals. It's already covered in part 1, but it's still the Feybreak, it's the glider pal, and it's the 3 gobfins. I think the swapping the mount for the glider setup with the towers to grapple is a lot more necessary on hard, because you want that extra attack speed to make this chopper fight shorter. Like I think most of the time spent on the oil rig is fighting the chopper on this hard setting. Takes a long time. So it's probably worth switching that flying mount for a gobfin. You finish the fight, you switch back to the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is not there for its great DPS, it's just there as like a safety tool. It has the big area of effect knockback, so if you suddenly like have 20 people chasing you around the corner, or you need to loot a chest somewhere, you just shoot a rocket at the floor, and usually you are good to go with the knockback effect. And then since it does hit a lot of enemies, you get a lot of healing as well. And here's just the standard sort of parkour, while trying to make sure that you have some health or shields. Like if you start getting low, you can always retreat into the underneath of the oil rig. It can be a little bit of trouble to be underneath the oil rig. It depends on where you are. Like sometimes you will be reached by teleporting Xenovaders, or if you're on certain areas of the oil rig, the riflemen can still reach you, or homing rockets or stuff like that. So still using these looting through the wall things as well. So there's 22 chests. They are covered in part 1 if you need a reminder where they all are. It's the same route pretty much. The chopper fight is a lot longer, and the timing of that first wave will be a bit different. The wave of enemies that spawn. And then here I do a little bit of a different thing. I try to trigger these crushers. I don't want to stop and fight them, since they are so tanky on hard mode. And I'm using the worst tier of weapons. It would take too long, in my opinion, if you're farming oil rig. I try to kind of bait them around the house. Because just this chest in particular can be a little bit messy. Because the crusher can just stand and shoot at you. You start climbing the railing when you're trying to get away. I think it's safer to just kind of trigger them like that. So those are the key differences so far. The chopper fight around the pillar with the multi-guided, you can't out-heal it. Waiting with summoning the chopper, or flying over to the pillar, depending on that first wave of NPCs. So there is that big wave of NPCs somewhere now on the oil rig, just always following you. It's like that that snail that is always following you, that will kill you if it touches you, kind of thing. So you got this huge pack of probably like 20 to 50 NPCs just always running after you depending on where you are. So you can wait somewhere on some rooftop and clear it out, or you can sort of try to parkour ahead of it, which can be very difficult to do on the hard setting. This is what I meant by retreating under the oil rig. You get low, you need to wait for your shields to come back up, you find a spot where the Xenovaders are not teleporting to you, and no homing missiles are shooting at you. Then you can also, if you get some free shots like this, you do have the Feybreak out. It's just a way to do a little bit of healing. You got the healing potion running as well. So for the hard setting oil rig, I do use the Mammoth curry for attack food, which I always do just to make the chopper fight a little bit faster. And then I also add the healing potion, just because I assume I'm gonna be getting hit quite a bit. It's just less downtime. Those healing potions are quite easy to get now as well, with the expeditions to the smuggling warehouse thing. So you can still do some tricks here. It's just risky. Like if you have a pretty high risk of dying here. If you do like the running in melee range of the crusher to avoid the minigun and the flamethrower guy. Like there are things like that you can do for like a speedrun challenge. But I find like clearing out this crusher makes it a lot safer to take this chest down here. Then you got some weird stuff with like if you shoot NPCs, they fly through the roof like that. That can also like sort of overwhelm you if you're fighting underneath. So keep that in mind as well. Like if you're fighting on the roof shooting rockets, they might end up next to you. That's why I was fighting that big crusher at the side of the house and not by the main entry. Just so you don't end up with nowhere to really go. Like if you have them up on the roof with you and the crusher down there. You have to do a lot of rocket swapping to get out of that situation. Then some of the like key NPCs to watch out for. The hand grenade seems to do a lot of damage. Then you got the crossbow man guy. And his thing is like the stun effect. If you get stunned in front of like a laser gun or a crusher, you are probably dead. So the crossbow guy like is probably the most annoying one. It's probably the guy I've died the most from. Then you have, so yeah, I got shocked, but I was already over the water, so it was safe. The laser rifle guy seems to do a lot of damage. You can destroy the turrets, but they seem to miss all the time anyway. You got the crushers, just super tanky and a lot of damage. I try to ignore them as much as I can. I try to ignore all the pals as well. But I think it's mostly those three that annoy me. The laser rifle guy, the crossbow man, and the crusher. The others kind of just exist, like the flamethrower is super easy to dodge. The assault rifle guys seem to just miss. Not a whole lot else I'm worried about. The missile guys can be a bit surprising, but you sort of hear the missile coming from very far away. You sort of know if you need to do a quick triple jump or something. But you can use like some of these NPCs that are on the rooftops that other NPCs can't reach. You sort of use them to heal. Just shoot some headshots with the plasma cannon and you should be full health again. And then we still got this looting through the wall stuff that we can do. They haven't changed anything with that. So here is a spot you sometimes sort of just sacrifice and die. If you get hit by that crossbowman on that platform. And then something here as well that I kind of tend to do on this platform. I forgot the big chest. If you noticed that, like, not sure if you did. When I do this particular run, if the chest is on this platform or on the tall tower, I have a tendency to forget them. Because you don't really pass them when clearing the small chests on the way back. So it's happened once or twice that I've gone back to base and checked the loot, and there has been no big chest loot. So try to remember the big chest. Like if you pass it naturally, it's you go like, oh right, I'm gonna loot it if it's on the center platform or the platform next to me or stuff like that. But these other two locations, I might forget it. So then one thing I'm gonna cover in this part as well, because I also covered it in part 1. I feel like it's more important in hard mode, or hard settings probably, is how to get your death box. So you can see I left the death box on the rig. So then you grab like some backup gear, like a plain plasteel armor setup. You want a shield, like one of your leftover shields. Don't like destroy those, just keep your old shields. You want a glider. So just build like the basic stuff. Like a glider, the armor, the shield. And this is a plain jet dragon as well. So it's just a legend jet dragon. And the choppers in the air. So what you want to do is you fly on your jet dragon to the oil rig. You fly in. You fly close as possible while dodging laser. And then you jump off and glide. So now you don't want to touch the ground. Just glide into the beams. And hopefully you don't get missile spammed on the way here now. You just touch the beams. Touch the beams. Perfect. Loot your pals. So you gotta pick up 5 pals and you pick up all your stuff as quickly as you can. And then you just let the chopper kill you. As long as you haven't touched the ground now, you won't drop your loot. I'm not sure if this has always been a thing. I can't remember it working like this before. It was just when I was trying to make this guide, like I wanted a part on how to get your death box back when I noticed this happening. So you grabbed your loot while you were gliding in the air. You have not touched the oil rig at all. You just spawn back at any base really, and you won't have, you notice there's no death box anywhere on the map now. So you spawn back at the base, and you will have your stuff in your inventory. And your pals as well. So you don't drop anything when you die while gliding above the oil rig like that. So that's it for the hard setting, the part 2 of the guide. Thanks for watching.